Hello everyone, this is Dr. Moadda and today we will talk about the small intestine. I will go over anatomy, histology, physiology, and pathophysiology. Here we've got the small intestine. It's almost 6 meters long. Here is the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. The first 12 inches is the duodenum, and then we've got the 40% is jejunum, and then the rest are ileum part. There is no clear border between the jejunum and the ileum, but the small intestine structure changes from proximal to distal areas. The jejunal part has more wider and thicker lumen, while the ileum has more complex arc with larger aggregates of lymph nodes. Here we've got the arterial and the venous supply of the small intestine. Here is the branches of the superior mesenteric artery supplying the whole small intestine and a part of the large intestine. On the venous side, the superior mesenteric vein as well supplies the small intestine. Here we can see it reunions with the splenic vein, forming the thick portal vein, which is rich in nutrients. Here we can see the nerve supply of the small intestine. The parasympathetic nerves are mainly the vagus nerve, which supplies the intestine in rest and digest phase, whereas superior mesenteric ganglion and splanchnic nerves are responsible for the sympathetic nerves. So pain from the small intestine can be felt around the navis or the periumbilical region. Intestines is covered with the thin layer of the peritoneum or the mesentery, and the arteries and veins are attached to this mesentery. So whenever you do a surgical resection of the small intestine, you should carefully divide not only the arteries and veins but also the mesentery. Let's here study the histology of the small intestine. The small intestine is part of the GI system, so it has the same histology. We've got the mucosa, submucosa, muscular layer, and the serosa. These 4 layers are the main 4 layers of the GI system. And throughout the system, each part has its significant features. So the stomach has more muscle layers, while, for example, the esophagus lacks the serosa. Back into the small intestine, we've got 4 layers, the mucosa, which absorbs fluids, so there is an intestinal villi. And the submucosa, it's rich in blood. And we've got 2 layers of muscles. These helps in contraction of the small intestine. And we've got the last layer, which is the serosa. The physiology of the small intestine and how it works. The main function is to digest and absorb nutrients and fluids. To be more specific, fats, carbs, glucose are broken down by enzymes and acids. After that, the small intestine absorbs these products. The jejunum is the main site for the absorption and the digestion of the most of the nutrients, where the terminal ileum is responsible for absorption of bile salts, vitamin B12, and other lipids vitamins. So in surgeries where they resect the jejunum, the terminal ileum will have this function and the absorption will not deteriorate. But when we resect the terminal ileum, the jejunum will not do its function. So there will be a reduced bile salts and vitamin B deficiency. Secondly, the small intestine synthesizes hormones. Like other hormones, these hormones modulate the intestinal function, growth, and differentiation. The third main function of the small intestine is the metabolism of the lipoproteins like LDL and HDL. Here we can see the core of the villi and the intestinal villi, and here we can see the physiology of digestion. Here is a closer look of the mucosa. It regenerates every 3 to 5 days. Here we can see the intestinal villi with the glucomucous layer. On the outside, we can see the absorptive enterocytes with Bannet cells that secretes lysosomes, and we can see goblet cells and endocrine cells. These epithelial cells are lined on lamina propria, which is a connective tissue, with blood vessels and lymph vessels. In order to absorb all the particles, the cells are lined tightly, and they're connected with tight junctions.